Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sandra's Stenography and Shorthand Dictation. Give me one moment. Let me close YouTube because I have difficulties when I have StreamYard and YouTube open at the same time. Okay. Hopefully, there is going to be no buffering in this video. So welcome, everyone, to Sandra's Stenography and Shorthand Dictation. If this is your first time here, please hit the subscribe button. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. I seem to have forgotten my banner. Let me see here. Let me put my banner, my ticker. Should be showing up in a second. There it is. So please subscribe today and help me get to 1,000 subs. Thank you. Also, check out the Anchor podcast, Let's Write Steno. You can find that on all of the major podcast distributors like Spotify and Google and Apple. The name again is Let's Write Steno. And I just uploaded a new podcast episode for you guys, and it is Homonyms Lesson 1. So if that is something that you're interested in and you would like to support the channel monetarily, please go over and listen to that, and also listen to the other streams that I have. That is one of the ways that you can support this channel without actually having to PayPal me, which you can by hitting the PayPal button on the first page, landing page on the YouTube channel. And you can also Cash App me at Steno Slayers 24/7. Please also hit the bell for notifications so you'll know when I upload a new video. Like, share, comment. I love you guys' comments. They keep me inspired and keep me wanting to do more for you. And also all of the other good things that you can do on the channel to help me with the YouTube algorithm. And now thank you also in advance for that as well. And thank you for all the new subscribers. Now, let's go ahead and get into this. And of course, you can tell by the title, this is a current event, and this is on the Russia and Ukraine situation that we have going on over there. That's right. That's what we got going on. And we do hope that there is not a war, because we don't need a war right now with all this pandemic. What do you say? Leave me a comment on what you think about all of this stuff that's going on with Ukraine and Russia. I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts because, I mean, for me, let me put my 2 cents in. I just think it's ridiculous what they're asking Ukraine to do. And so I think it's very unfair, and I don't like it. And I just don't want to see that poor country just go through, just be, it's kind of like a bully, like they bullying them. And they trying to bully the UN as well. But I don't think it's going to work. And so if it doesn't work, does that mean that we're going to war? Oh, these are trying times. But let's get into this article. And this is Russia. The name of this article, it's from, first of all, CNBC.com, in case you're looking for it. I should put the link below. And it's Russia. The title is Russia is willing to go to war and incur sanctions over Ukraine, analysts warn. So that's that. And let's go ahead. Now, let me say this before we get started. Some words in here I may just totally bouch up, just totally ruin. But I hope not, because I try to do my best in pronouncing these words as clearly and as best as can. So I am going to do my best. Before we get into that as well, before we get into the dictation as well, this was written by Chloe Taylor. You can find her at Chloe Taylor 41. And let's see here. What else we have here? Some of the words that we're going to get into are Ukraine, Russia, NATO. And remember, NATO is capital letters, all caps, NATO. Europe. When the last time you wrote that? Let's see, diplomatic. Black Sea, Peninsula. Oh, this is going to be some great stuff here. Crimea, CRIMEA. Samuel Craney Evans. Now they have a dash between the Evans, the Craney and the Evans. So it's CRANNY dash Evans, EVANS. Convoys, ammunition, Ukrainian, cyber warfare, assassination, infrastructure, Matthew Bolig. Now, this last name, I'm pronouncing it Bolig. I could be wrong, but it's going to be Boulegue for those who like to know how things are spelled and for those who plan on transcribing. We have Chatham Houses, Russia, Eurasia, EURASIA. War fighting, that's one word. Do not make that two. Sustaining. CNBC, of course, you know all of that is capitalized. Let's see. Parliament, they have that capitalized when it says speaking in Parliament last week. Then we have Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Oligarchs, OLIGARCHS. Sanctions, of course. What else we have? Large scale. There's a dash. Large dash scale. Think tank. Think tank. Try to say that 3 times fast. Think tank. Consumption. International Institute for Strategic Studies. And the only part of that is not capitalized is the 4. Libya. Pessimistic. Kremlin, that's with the K. Putin. And when I say Eurasia program, that's capitalized, both words. And Belarus, BELARUS. There we go. Let's get started. This is going to be, because this is kind of, I'm giving this to the intermediate and advanced class. I would not advise newcomers, new beginners to work with this. And it's going to take about 10 minutes. So I think I'm going to read this at around 120, 100, 120, 140, maybe, but I doubt it. I don't think I'm going to reach 140. So this would be around 100 and 120 because around there, because of the material. All right. You're ready to get started by now, I'm sure. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Russia is willing to risk, quote, real financial harm, close quote, and all-out war to achieve its political objectives in Ukraine, comma, defense analysis have said. Moscow has denied that it plans to invade neighboring Ukraine, comma, a former part of the Soviet Union, comma, despite having assembled around 100,000 troops at the border. Russia is demanding that Ukraine never be permitted to become a member of NATO military alliance and has said it wants the organization to roll back its presence in Eastern Europe. Last week, comma, the U.S. delivered a response to Moscow's demands that repeated previous refusals to concede. Diplomatic talks are expected to be held between the two countries at a UN Security Council meeting Monday. The British government claimed earlier this month that it had evidence the Kremlin was seeking to install a pro-Russian leader, Kyiv. In 2014, Russia invaded and annexed Crimea, a Black Sea peninsula in the south of Ukraine with an ethnic Russian majority. A spokesperson for the Russian government was not immediately available to comment when contacted by CNBC. Samuel Craney Evans, a research analyst at defense and security think tank, the Royal United Services Institute, said it was likely there was still a way to go before Russia invades Ukraine. Quote, "This isn't an invasion force yet," close quote, he told CNBC in a phone call. Quote, "Russia has very deliberately built this situation in such a way that we will know when it is an invasion force," close quote. He added that we have seen so far, quote, "just the first step," close quote. And now that things like air defense assets, convoys of fuel and ammunition, and the personnel to man all the equipment, were being moved to the border. Russia was taking its second step. Quote, "There are, I would argue, quite a few steps to go through before we actually get to Russian troops moving onto Ukrainian soil," close quote, he said. Quote, "We might see standoff tactics like cruise missile test launches and cyber warfare attacks, a bit of unrest and assassination in Ukraine, perhaps," close quote. Craney Evans speculated that the first act of war would most likely be long-range missile strikes that targeted key military and industrial infrastructure in Ukraine. Quote, it's all about showing that if you continue down this road of not doing what we want, comma, we have the ability to target your values, he told, close quote, he told CNBC. Quote, it isn't about Russian men killing Ukrainian men and women, comma. It's about targeting the Ukrainian way of life, close quote. Matthew Bolig, a research fellow at Chatham's Houses Russia and Eurasia program, comma, agreed, comma, telling reporters during the think tank's press briefing on Friday that the Russians did not yet appear to be ready to invade. Quote, we have now one of the largest concentrations of force in Europe since World War II, with a force that looks like an invasion force, he said, close quote. But we're still missing some elements in terms of military logistics to make it fully able and capable of sustaining war fighting operations at the technical operational level, close quote. However, comma, he said he suspected that Russia was willing to go to extreme lengths to achieve its political goals. Quote, you don't send close to 100,000 troops and as many people in reserves to prove a point, dash. Russia has raised the stakes so high for me at this stage that it seems improbable it will just simply back down unless it gets something in return, close quote, he said. Meanwhile, comma, Craney-Evans told CNBC that if these steps continue to unfold, comma, it was worrying for the long-term outlook. Quote, according to Russian theory, comma, they would actually only invade when they were pretty sure that the Ukrainians were already beaten, comma, close quote, he said. Quote, so they could, comma, in theory, comma, be beaten before Russian tanks even move across the border, close quote. Some NATO members have signaled their support for Ukraine as troops have continued to be amassed at the country's border with Russia. Speaking in Parliament last week, comma, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson warned that, quote, many Russian mothers' sons will not be coming home, close quote, if Russia moved to invade Ukraine. Meanwhile, comma, Britain's Foreign Secretary, comma, Liz Truss, comma, has said the UK will introduce legislation this week to allow it to hit Russian banks, comma, oligarchs, and energy companies with economic sanctions. On Sunday, comma, Bob Menendez, comma, chair of the U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, comma, told CNN that the committee was devising the, quote, mother of all sanctions, close quote, against Russia that would be, quote, crippling to their economy, close quote, as a method of defending Ukraine. German ministers have also said that Russia will face, quote, massive, close quote, economic consequences if it takes any aggressive action against Ukraine. Quote, real financial harm could be inflicted on Russia if the right sanctions and the right enforcement were put into place, close quote, Craney Evans said. Even without sanctions, the entire operation is already likely to have been costly for Russia, and those costs will only continue to rise if its troops invade. Quote, large-scale military action obviously comes with significant costs in terms of fuel consumption, ammunition, losses and replacement losses, close quote, Henry Boyd, research fellow for defense and military analysis at think tank, the International Institute for Strategic Studies, told CNBC in a phone call, quote, the baseline cost of the current deployment is not a free action, but it's a relatively sustainable action, You're not having to pay an awful lot more in terms of your budget to achieve what you're trying to do, close quote. But he said the military action would already have had, quote, knock-on consequences, close quote, domestically, with a large amount of civilian transportation being diverted to the military over the last few months. Quote, you've also already seen the effects that rumors of military action and likely economic sanctions have had on the stock market. Close quote, he added. Quote, so I think you will already have seen, indirectly, some level of significant economic loss for the action undertaken so far, close quote. The finance and resources used in some recent military campaigns, such as the Western-led air campaign in Libya, may, quote, pale in comparison, close quote, to what Russia would need to expend in a significant ground invasion, according to Boyd. Quote, but there's a pessimistic view that however costly and however much risk Russia may run in terms of short-term economic pain, it may still be seen as worth it if it's the only way to preserve what, in their mind, is the essential political situation in Russia's near abroad, he warned. Quote, if they need to go through war, whatever the scale and the size, to obtain their political strategic goals, they will do it, close quote. Chatham Houses Bolig agreed. If they can avoid it, of course they will, because nobody in their right mind in the Kremlin would want more sanctions and to be ostracized even more, close quote. War would be, quote, costly and long, close quote, for Russia, he added, and potential sanctions and economic costs could carry additional political costs by sparking popular uprisings against the Kremlin. Quote, they would sign Putin's death in a way, Bolig said. Andrew Wood, associate fellow at Chatham's Houses, Russia and Eurasia program, and a former British ambassador to Russia, added that Putin was, quote, motivated by a fear of popular revolutions, close quote, such as the unrest seen recently in Belarus. All right, guys, that was it. And I do know that I butchered this man's name. It's Boulegue. And I think it's Bolig, but I might have pronounced it Bolig. Anyway, you guys know what I'm trying to say. That's his name. Okay, and that is the article that I wanted to bring you on current events. And I'm going to try to start doing these once a week. It's so difficult to get in here sometimes to get, the current events going. I'm going to try to do at least one every week. And I won't do a Scout's honor on that. I'll just let you know. I will definitely do my best. So, if you like the video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. Let me know how you like it. Check out the Anchor podcast as well. That's right, Steno. I'll be doing much more over there as well. I just recently put up a new one on homonyms lesson 1. So if that's something you're interested in, you can go to any of the major podcast distributors such as Spotify, Apple, Google, and type in Let's Write Steno, and you'll come across the podcast. And it's a great way to monetarily help me without having to actually give me cash. But if you can, hit the PayPal button, of course, and cash app me at Steno Slayers 24/7. That's going to end it for me tonight, guys. You have a great one, and I'll see you at the next video. Thanks for watching.